What we have here now is an example of a Rhode and Schwarz EK896 DSP shortwave receiver. They're top of the line, one of the last ones that they actually made with a front face which had a human interface on the front. One of the nice, first thing you see about it is the layout. It's very much different than the junior brother of that, which actually, from a performance standpoint, is very similar, is the 895, EK895. And here we see two instances of that. You see one that has the human user interface, and the totally remote one here on the bottom, which only has an on-off button. Everything else is designed to be run by either another computer or a master-slave unit. Like this was designed to be a master. It has one of the features to do that. Going through the beginning of this, how it's laid out. Obviously, you have your VFO tuning knob here. Underneath here in the shadows, if you can kind of see that, is where you can toggle between frequencies and channels. So you can do scans with channel, or you can do frequencies, and you can scan there as well. Up here you have the cursor buttons, which determine how fine your tuning is. So currently it's on 1 kilohertz, and then basically if you press it down, it goes down 1, and you can continue right down to 1 hertz resolution on that. So anyway, so that's actually very nice to be able to do that. Similar function on the 895, but these are the cursor buttons here. They allow you to do that same function there. It's just not labeled cursor and big buttons that big hands like mine can kind of adjust well to. Here you have passband tuning, notch filters, and BFO. You can toggle between those and adjust it from the panel here. Whereas over here, you do have the same thing. You have BFO and passband notch that you can tune and change through a little different mechanism there, but that's pretty much the same thing. The knobs you see on here, the RF, the signal coming into the machine, they call it HF here, and here is the AF or volume.
These little segments are tying together with you.
I'm not going to run too much of a sound, correcting my first mistake on my other video. If you've watched that one, I apologize for the sound quality. I fired my production crew after that. Here's the HF or the RF, and here's the volume for that. I got so you see how that works. Anyway, beyond that, you have your direct tuning. Here, you can actually press right in the frequency. You have the enter button here and a clear. If you make a mistake, you can clear it. The get and put are actually for the remote control part of this, so that you can actually get the definitions from a remote radio and bring it in, so you can actually run, say, this radio, the front panel for this radio on this front panel. And in a future video, I'll try to figure out how to do that, and we'll get that working. Here you have a lot of the mode control, the mode controls. All of these are right on the panel here, as well as the bandwidth plus and minus, so you can adjust your bandwidth. It goes from, on this one, it goes from 9 all the way down to 0.1, and you can see all the way down. Keep going, keep going. There you go. And you think you're there, and you just keep on. There are a ton of bandwidths on these guys. If you have the quasi-continuous bandwidth, there you go. That's the lowest you can get. So then we just step it right back up so we can actually do some tuning. Anyway, and it goes to 9. I think on the base unit without the variable IF tuning, it only goes to 8 on this. That's the roofing filter on that, I think. A lot of that's handled through the DSP, so I'm not exactly sure. But I know that without press on this one, if you don't press the, if you go to bandwidth, since it has but if the bandwidth is selected here, it only goes to 8. That's the highest you can go, and then you can go down from there. So it has fewer steps. As you can see, they're much more coarse when you're doing that. So, and I'll do variable and just punch it up. There we go. So manual gain control and automatic gain control, you can go fast or slow. directly from the whether you do that. And you'll see right here it's fast, and for AM broadcast like this, I like to go slow so it smooths it out a little bit. AGC, and there you have it, and it gives you it has it at 150 right now. If you go to 500, that makes it slow, and that's what I usually do when I'm listening to things. But you can go longer delay than that if you want. So back to menu to clear it to that. All right, so there's a suite of digital tools that I haven't really figured out yet. The DGC, digital gain control, which has a lot of very finite controls and stuff you can use. You have here let me turn the sound up a little bit. Okay, now this is out. This is out of line right now. It's using the external speaker. But that kicks this in. Doesn't totally isolate this speaker, but it divides it so you get most of the treble through here instead of here. If you kick this off again, then you have the treble through here. So there is also on this unit a jack just like this, a headphone jack on the back of the receiver, which is currently what's plugged into, that acts the same way. It's not a total isolation switch, but it directs a lot of the sound to the front speaker for intelligibility, or if you're not running an external speaker, it has a pretty good sound. So it's a really good speaker, I think. So we start talking about some of the things you can do on here. You can select modes this way, some additional ones. Like you see, there's a ton of faxes and upper and lower independent sideband, a whole lot of different things. I'm not going to go through all of them. One of the things when you start looking at things, I like the system, show you some differences in this. I'm talking about the version on this. There's the version 4.0, which is one of the latest ones that does some things like changes what displays in the S meter. And also there's a DSP version of 2.0, which if we go over here to first of all, you can't get it from the main screen. You have to toggle through again. The system's there, and it's the same way. But this has version 1.0, and it does not have a DSP when I go back, I'm going to go to options. I'll show you that. That'll do it in a little bit. That'll have basically the options. I'll start here. Quasi-continuous bandwidth. That's the only one you have on here, which gives you the wider bandwidth and more bandwidth increments, so it's actually more usable as a radio to tune signals. If I go over here and I go back and get options, I have the quasi-continuous bandwidth control here, which is the same thing. But if you notice, there's an arrow here, and if I hit more, it has the digital selection, which I was talking about with the digital gain control and a lot of other features. It has data link, so you can actually, there's additional things with that, as well as the external control unit, which allows for the remote control of external units like the 895s. So, and back to that. So there are also two menu buttons here. I won't go through all of them, but there are just more options when you go through these, because there are a lot of different more features in here. It makes sense, right? Over here, you just have the one menu button, and what you get there is you have to basically hit the more button to go through, and there are, so there are only so many things you can do. There aren't as many. When you do select your modes and stuff here, like AM, CW, LSB, USB, and then more, and you can go through. And this one has the ISB, the independent sideband as well. But anyway, fewer modes, because of the digital package is not installed on this one. One of the reasons they can put it in a big regular full 19-inch rack unit like the 896 is you've got more room physically to put these things in, whereas in these half rack units like the 895s, you have half the space, so that's a limitation. One other useful thing with the 896 is a tuning indicator. You probably noticed that up here. And I'll turn the sound up a little bit. I don't want to do it too loud because it tends to get in your face on the iPhone here. So I'll tune it up a little bit. And as you see, that's on 7505, the exact frequency. This is very, very exact. If I wanted to use this tuning indicator, you see it's off just a little bit. If you're a stickler for that kind of thing, I come over here and drop the tuning resolution down to, I did this in case here it's 10 hertz. And then basically you just use the tuning knob to move it. And that's the wrong way. We do it this way. There it goes green, and that's the center of the frequency. And you see we're about 70 hertz off here. And it seems like almost every station has some increment like that if you're trying to tune it. I think that's really important probably for some of the digital modes and for that kind of thing. So once again, has much more control as to what you can do. And that's pretty much what I want to talk about here 10 minutes into this. I don't want to bore you too much, but anyway, that is what the 896 will do for you, and the 895 performance-wise, especially with the quasi-bandwidth filter, IF bandwidth filters, performance-wise, very similar. It just has, it's a little less accessible because you have obviously fewer buttons, fewer knobs, smaller space to put things than on the 896. And obviously on the version 2 of the 895, that's computer controlled. So turn it on, plug it in, and then remote in from somewhere else. So that's even less accessible. But that's how receivers kind of have gone these days. Anyway, I'd be interested to hear your feedback and hearing if anything you want to hear, anything else you want to see on that. I'll probably do, I have had a request for somebody to do the 896 on the broadcast band, which I will do a video on that in a little while. So look for that coming shortly too. Anyway, thanks a lot. See you next time.